The first votes of campaign 2024 could be cast in several states this week thanks to mail-in ballots. Well, a new exhibit explores the history of mail-in voting, and it turns out the practice has been around a lot longer than you might think. CBS's Scott MacFarlane explains.
Mail-in voting surged in popularity during the pandemic. Then it was the subject of baseless conspiracy theories and false claims of fraud by some critics, including former President Donald Trump and his supporters.
We have to be very careful with the ballots. The ballots, that's a whole big scam.
But mail-in voting has only grown in popularity, and it will be used again this year. Voting this way is hardly new or revolutionary. It's older than many of the states that use it. Inside the Smithsonian's National Postal Museum in Washington this month, they're delivering some of that history.
What should people know about the history of this?
That it's been around so long with very little, working pretty well and with very little incidents.
With this new election year exhibit, including an envelope used to carry votes by Civil War soldiers who voted remotely in their hometown elections, and a 100-year-old photo of then-President Calvin Coolidge and the First Lady filling out their 1924 election ballot from a desk positioned outside the White House. And this blank ballot sent to World War II troops to vote from the war front. Troops had to write in the names of their preferred choice.
This is a pretty powerful image here.
And voting in World War II internment camps. Oregon launched a local vote-by-mail-only election in the 1980s.
State election officials this month warned of the risk of late deliveries or some ballots being returned undeliverable because of the high volume of those being processed. But CBS News contributor and election law expert David Becker says teaching the history of mail-in ballots helps counter baseless claims of fraud in the mail.
Prior to 2020, there was consensus that this is a great option for voters who chose to vote that way, that it made managing elections easier for election officials because it meant some or all wouldn't be showing up at the polls. There would be shorter lines.
The Postal Service processed 105 million ballots in the 2022 election, sending them through facilities like this one. But they emphasize that's just a small percentage of the overall mail processed in any given year. Scott MacFarlane, CBS News, Gaithersburg, Maryland.